Well, Cuphead and his pal Mugman sure do like to roll the die. What's good, YouTube? I'm Smoools, and today we're going to be ranking the Cuphead boss fights from easiest to hardest. Cuphead is known not just for its 1930s cartoon style, but also for its insane difficulty. Each boss is incredibly unique and offers a brand new challenge with each fight. So the rules are pretty simple. All 19 bosses will be ranked, with 19 being the easiest and 1 being the hardest. All the King Dice battles are merged into the one battle as a whole. This will be based on normal difficulty, running guns are not allowed, and this is all in terms of playing in one player, not co-op. Also, my YouTube analytics show that many of my viewers aren't subscribed, so if you enjoy this video and love gaming content, feel free to subscribe. It's totally free and helps me out a lot more than you think. And with all that said, let's take a nice trip to Inkwell Isles, let's deal with the devil, and without further ado, let's get started. Number 19, Goopy Le Grande. So I bet a lot of people consider the Root Pack, the literal tutorial boss, the easiest, but honestly, my boy Goopy is much more of a pushover. So first, he is a little dude who jumps in a very predictable pattern. Sometimes there's a punch that can simply be dodged by ducking. Then he's big. He jumps in a same predictable pattern, punches you, which once again you just dodge by ducking. See what I mean? It's just an easy and very predictable pattern that's just easy to get the hang of. Then the final phase mixes it up a bit. He's a big grave and he slams down every few seconds, but it's as easy as just simply dashing to dodge it. It's simple, easy peasy, easily the easiest boss in the game, and I just said easy a lot. Number 18, the Root Pack. Root Pack is also insanely easy. I just think it's slightly more difficult because all three phases are actually unique. First is Potato Man, you simply jump, parry, and hold shoot. Then it's Sad Onion Man, he cries, you need to quickly react to the tears falling out of the sky and dodge them. Still pretty simple. Then you fight the Carrot, which can be a bit difficult since there's a little bit more going on. He'll shoot some beams at you, and you gotta dodge carrot rockets at the same time. Once again, very easy. Number 17, Cagney Carnation. I think Root Pack and Goopy are the only two bosses I'd consider to be actually easy. Now we're just in the category of kinda easy. So I feel like a lot of people make Cagney out to be a lot harder than it actually is. To me, it's just kind of pay attention and dodge some projectiles. Sometimes he'll do a punch thing, just go up or down to avoid. He'll shoot some stuff, just jump over them. He'll shoot some rocket things, just stay low and avoid them. Pretty simple in my book. The final phase is honestly easier to me because there's a lot less projectiles, and it's just really platforming. Just don't be on the platform about to attack, parry the dandelion things, and boom. Dead flower. Number 16, Ribby and Croaks. This boss to me was a bit hard to place because on my first time ever playing, this boss was insanely hard. But now it's just kind of another quick first try easy boss. The first phase is simple, jump and duck over some punches, shoot the fireflies before they get you, done. Second phase, also simple, don't let the wind trip you up, dodge the weird ball things, done. And the final phase is where people actually begin to struggle. So they become a casino machine that doesn't take damage until you parry its little, I don't know what it is, like the little slot thing. Then based on some luck, you'll get a platforming challenge. Some are easy, some are hard. All are doable though, which is why this boss is only number 16. But I do understand if some people would place it higher on the list. Number 15, Sally Stage Play. Surprisingly, I do think an Inkwell Isles 3 boss fight is one of the easiest in the game. Sally Stage Play is genuinely just a pushover, especially compared to some of the other Inkwell Isle 3 bosses. So first phase is kind of similar to Goopy, she just kind of jumps in a pattern you can dodge. Then the second phase is just more jumping, but there's toy cars driving around that you need to be aware of, and some bottles flying from the sky. It's just don't be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Then the third phase is honestly the easiest. I mean, it literally says which attack is coming before it happens. And the final phase is also cake, just dodge the moving umbrella, be aware of the occasional falling roses, and that's pretty much it. Easy boss. Number 14, Hildeberg. So the final Inkwell Isles 1 boss is on our list, and it is Hildeberg. Personally, I have a bit more trouble with the piloting level since I'm just much better at handling the platforming rather than bullet hell. So Hildeberg is the first plane level, and it hits you hard as well. A plane. So when she's in her normal form, there's just some mini zeppelins, pretty easy to dodge, but then she takes 3 constellation forms. First there's Taurus, which is just a bolt thing that launches itself at you and just be in the right place at the right time so you don't get hit. Then there's Gemini, which is pretty easy as long as you're in the right place when the beam starts shooting. And then there's Sagittarius, who shoots some arrows and stars, which is kind of bullet helly, but nothing awful. But then the final phase is where I think it gets insanely hard. She becomes a crescent moon that attacks you with shooting stars and UFOs, and it is honestly really difficult. But luckily, the phase is fairly short, so that makes it a bit easier, I guess, but definitely still the hardest Inkwell Isles 1 boss fight. Number 13, Werner Werman. Once again, we're taking a bit of a detour and heading to Inkwell Isles 3. So the World War I rat starts moving around and shooting you with his weird can tank thing. This phase is pretty easy. You can just get some free parries, dodge some of the catapults, dodge the bombs, and be ready for the second phase. So his tank will crack open. Make sure you're not on the same layer as him, as he will use a flamethrower and take out the whole row. And also be aware of the grinding soda bottle tops. This phase is kinda hard, but it's over really quickly. Then his mechanical Katzenwagen comes out, which is honestly really easy. Just be aware of the paws in the background, be careful of the ghost rats throwing their noses, and it's over before you know it. Number 12, Baroness von Bonbon. So Inkwell Isles 2 is when the difficulty really starts to pick up. Baroness von Bonbon was hard to place on this list since there's a fair bit of RNG involved. So she'll summon 3 minions. Some of them are easy, some of them are hard. With good RNG, this could be one of the easiest boss fights in the game. With bad RNG, it can be very difficult. I'm not going to get into the specifics though, because each mini boss is pretty standard. For the final phase, the cake castle begins moving. The weird princess candy begins chucking her own head at you. Simply dodge by moving before it hits you. It's pretty easy, mainly just a phase of endurance, and bada bing bada boom, you're done. Number 11, the Phantom Express. So now it's time to hit the road and hop on the Phantom Express. So this boss is what I'd call traditionally difficult, but that's only if you really know the patterns, which is why I do consider this boss to be like kinda difficult. So the first phase is pretty standard, just shoot the ghost, parry all the pumpkins bricks, easy. Then with Mr. Spooky Scary Skeleton, simply pay attention to where his head is, parry the cart to move it there, easy. Then with the two, to be honest, I don't really know what these guys are, the lollipop mens. Just pay attention to which one's going to vomit all over the stage and move to the opposite side, and then they switch off, so it's a very predictable pattern. Then in the final phase, just parry the train's tail, do some damage, be careful with the fire, done. Once again, it can definitely take a few attempts to learn the cycles and how to dodge them, but with a bit of practice, I think it's actually a pretty easy boss fight. Number 10, Beppy the Clown. Finally, we've reached the top 10 most difficult boss fights in Cuphead, so let's get the clown bastard out of the way. So Beppy's first phase has his little car moving up and down. Sometimes he'll charge you, avoid him, avoid some ducks. Yeah, it's annoying, but you'll get over it. Next is the easiest phase, just dodge the balloon dogs, watch out for the train. Yeah, it's annoying, but you'll get over it. The next phase is stupid. Kinda RNG based, and did I mention stupid? So my advice is to target under the donkey and get as much damage as possible. And when the train comes, just pray to get a good cycle so you can dodge the horseshoes and the train. Yeah, it's annoying, blah blah blah. Then there's the final phase. The bastard turns into a carousel thing. He'll summon some penguins to throw balls at you. Stay on your toes, do what you gotta do. It's not very fun, and I do hate this fight. But I guess it's kinda hard, but not insanely hard. And my final response is, yeah, it's annoying, but you'll get over it. Number 9, Captain Brinybeard. Captain Brinybeard to me is kind of like a non-plane level bullet hell. So first things first, there's always this barrel up here that you gotta avoid, which gets difficult because so much stuff's always going on. So the first phase is decently simple. Pyro Man just shoots some orbs at you, just make sure the barrel doesn't get in the way, and it should be fine. Then it begins to ramp up. The boat will begin to shoot some projectiles at you, the captain will summon various sea creatures to help attack you. Then the boat has had enough of your bullcrap. He throws the captain off and begins to shoot these orbs at you, which can be really hard to dodge. And sometimes he'll even Kamehameha a beam at you, so watch out for that. And all in all, it's one of those bosses where you know it's hard, but you know it's doable. Number 8, Jimmy the Great. I've seen some people throw my man Jimmy out there as the absolute most difficult boss fight in the game, which I disagree with. Yes, it's a plane level, but there are harder plane levels out there. So the first phase has a tiny bit of RNG. He will give you one of a few attacks. None are really too easy or too hard. Next is the weird pillars section, which is literally just small bits of precision flying while holding shoot. Next is a huge bullet hell, shoot some stuff, dodge some stuff. Yeah, it's not really interesting. Next is the Cuphead puppet, which is what I'd call one of the easier phases. Not much to talk about there. Then there's the final phase. It looks insanely hard, but it's actually not as hard as intimidating as it looks. Just dodge his eye beams, pay attention to the pyramids, win. Also, don't die of secondhand smoking. This guy's a bad example for the children. Number 7, Wally Warbles. I'm not gonna lie, I have some serious beef with my man Wally over here. I don't know why, but I just struggle with this fight way more than I feel like I should. So yeah, it's another plane level where Big Bird over here shoots a bunch of projectiles at you that can be very annoying to navigate around. It's really easy to get tripped up and take a few hits here, but with some practice, it's pretty easy. The next phase is a huge bullet hell of feathers that make you really clench every joint in your body. Then next, Bird Brain over here decides to be completely hellish. He surrounds himself with these shield egg things, which can be tedious to navigate, and he shoots beams at you at really poor times, which it can easily catch you off guard. I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like this specific phase lasts forever. It feels so drawn out, and I just normally get so impatient, try something stupid, and die. The final phase is kinda difficult, but nothing really to run home about. Just pay attention which projectiles are being thrown at you, dodge them, and then cook some chicken dinner. Number 6, Grim Matchstick. Okay, we're really getting to the point where these bosses are just a huge struggle. The fight against Grim is a hell of a wild ride through the clouds. By that I mean, it forces you to platform while dodging all the mayhem, which can be tedious as hell, especially if you somehow get cornered. So the first phase is pretty simple, dodge the fireballs, be aware of his tail. It's actually kinda hard, not gonna lie, I do struggle with this, but it's simple. Next phase is incredibly frustrating. So this time, you're facing away from him, so you gotta be facing backwards to shoot while keeping up with the platforms moving against you. While at the same time, there's gonna be these little bratty fireballs just always seem to pop up out of nowhere. The last phase is pretty intimidating. Grim becomes a freaking Hydra. One of the heads decides to be a flamethrower, and you need to dodge these mythical ball things that shoot out other mini projectiles when you shoot them. This is all still while having to move the opposite direction to platform on the clouds. It's crazy hectic, crazy hard, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it should be higher, but there are definitely a lot harder bosses. Number 5, King Dice. I feel like there's a wide stance in my opinion of King Dice's difficulty. Some people say it's the most difficult fight in the game, while others like me think it's hard, but just takes a lot of practice. So the way the fight goes is you roll a dice, try to make an optimal route to get to the actual King Dice fight, and then screw him up. The thing is, the dice roll is easy to time consistently with some practice, and you can easily use that to have the least amount of fights, the easiest fights, and the most extra health points as possible. Then you actually fight King Dice, and I mean, it's tricky, but he literally uses one attack over and over again. So you can easily develop a rhythm to get through this. Overall, definitely a very difficult boss fight, but with some proper strategy, I wouldn't call it impossible. Number 4, Cala Maria. Cala Maria is pretty iconic fight in Cuphead, at least to my eyes. So it's a plane level with the first phase consisting of a bunch of random projectiles being thrown at you at once. Some are easy to dodge, some are hard, so it comes down to a decent amount of RNG to be able to get out of this phase with as much health as possible. The second phase has Cala become Medusa, and she can turn you into stone with a huge laser blast. To get out of this, you need to mash like a madman, and if you're in a bad spot, you're inevitably going to take a hit, maybe two. She summons a bunch of eels that rain an absolute bullet hell on you. The final phase gets even more difficult. You need to chase her down a narrow path while she's constantly stonifying you. And while there's these spiky walls in the way, it could be a nightmare to deal with, but with a little bit of luck, it's barely doable. Number 3, the Devil. So, the final boss, the fight against literal Satan, definitely deserves the title of Hellish. So first, you simply just need to dodge some standard attacks, like giant arms that take up the entire floor, a huge dragon that squishes you in the corner, an RNG-based choice of 3 projectiles, the standard. Yeah, that was sarcastic by the way. The first phase is a real nail-biter. That's a good way of draining away your health really quickly. Next, he decides, screw this, turns huge, and gives you 5 small platforms to endure on. You gotta parry some bombs, dodge some axes, and watch out for flying poker chips. Then he begins to fuss up and summon some purple demons to rain hell on you, while still throwing a bunch of crap at you, and also 2 of the platforms get removed, so your options are even more limited. Then if you happen to get past that part, the final phase is pretty light actually. It looks intimidating, but it's really short. So now you only have 1 platform to stand on, and you gotta carefully parry the devil's tears when a falling poker chip comes. And after getting that knockout, you have officially beaten Cuphead's final boss. It ain't the hardest one though. Number 2, Rumor Honeybottoms. Oh my lord, I freaking hate the boss fighting. It's the freaking Queen Bee from Super Mario Galaxy. So it's one of those platforming based boss fights, and there's rising honey at the bottom at all times, so you need really good platform RNG to stay afloat. And it's just annoying as hell. So the first phase of the boss is Paul Blart Bee Cop stepping in and chasing after you while planting some needle bombs. It's pretty easy to dodge, but there's also these stupid ass working bees that randomly stroll by and hit you before you can even see them. The next phase has a fair bit of RNG involved. She has 3 different attacks. All are pretty similar in difficulty, and by that I mean all are incredibly hard not to take a single hit on. And the final phase is where I just draw the frickin' line. She turns into a frickin' plane, shoots homing fists at you, which are an absolute pain to avoid. And sometimes, she will just also raise a razor blade really quickly with little notice that takes up a solid 75% of the screen. And on top of that, while platforming up, you need to constantly be holding down to shoot at her because she's at the bottom of the screen. It's an infuriating, stupidly hard boss fight. Number 1, the tutorial. God damn, this jump is such bullshit. Okay, number 1, Dr. Cal's robot. Aw man, the cream of the crop. We have Bender from Futurama over here is truly, in my opinion, the most difficult boss fight in Cuphead. By the way, it's a plane level, so first you need to attack 3 specific parts that all attack you at once: the antenna, the gut, and the heart. Personally, my route is gut, heart, then antenna. I'm not sure if it's optimal or not, but it worked for me the best. There's always so much going on screen, like a huge laser cutting the screen in half, a huge force field cutting another half of the screen in half, some weird bird things, and worst of all, the homing bombs. If you somehow make it past the first phase, his heart will pop out and you need to target that, but you're still dodging all the same bullcrap at the same time. Next, he'll shoot his head at you, while you still have to avoid the homing bombs, and you have to get tiny bits of damage on at a time as it whooshes past the screen over and over again. Next, Dr. Robotnik finally reveals himself and pulls out a Chaos Emerald that shoots out a bunch of tiny particles in a bullet hell-like fashion, and you need to avoid all that while dodging giant electric walls while also getting damage off. And you're going to want to end it quick because this phase lasts half the battle, so it's just consistent bullet hell for like a minute straight. In my opinion, it's 100% the most difficult boss in Cuphead. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. I know the way I'm describing it makes it sound like I don't enjoy fighting the bosses, but I do. I love Cuphead. It's hard. It's a hard game. So if you love this content stuff, just leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, share, leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And without further ado, bye.